All right, let's get right into it. We're about to dive deep into the hidden world of your immune system. We're going to decode its secret language, and believe me, it's a language that can mean the difference between being healthy and being really, really sick. So, to get our heads around this, let's start with something you've probably seen before. You drop a tiny bit of something sweet on the ground, and what happens? Pretty soon, an entire army of ants shows up. How do they all know to come to that exact spot? Well, they're masters of chemical communication. They leave this trail for their buddies to follow. So that gets you thinking, right? When your body is being attacked by, say, a virus or some nasty bacteria, how does it call in its own army? How does it get all those immune cells to the right place at exactly the right time? Well, it turns out it does pretty much the exact same thing as the ants. But instead of pheromones, your body uses this secret language of tiny little signaling molecules. And they're called cytokines. These things are the messengers that coordinate your body's entire defense force. The name itself is a huge clue. Cytokine actually comes from the Greek words for cell and movement. And that's literally what they do. They're these small proteins that get sent out by one cell to cause movement or some kind of action in other cells. To make it even simpler, think of cytokines as the cell phones of your immune system, right? They're zipping urgent text messages back and forth between cells. Or another great way to picture it, imagine a police officer directing traffic during a huge emergency, telling all the cells where to go, when to stop, and how fast to get there. Okay, so we have these little molecular messengers sending out all these urgent signals. But how does that become a coherent language? Let's take a closer look at this incredible communication network. This whole thing is built on conversations between your cells. But how exactly do those conversations happen? Well, it kind of depends on who's talking and who needs to be listening. Turns out there are three main ways they chat. First, you've got autocrine. This is basically like a cell giving itself a little pep talk. It releases a cytokine that just loops back and talks to its own receptors. Then there's paracrine, which is like whispering to your neighbor. The signal only travels a tiny distance to the cells right next door. And finally, you've got endocrine. This is the equivalent of shouting across a packed stadium. The cytokine jumps into the bloodstream to send a message to cells way, way on the other side of the body. But here's the thing. These messages aren't just flying around randomly. No, this language has a very strict set of rules. It's like a grammar that makes the whole immune response so incredibly precise and powerful. There are 5 of these fundamental rules we really need to get our heads around. And the first one, it's a real multitasker. It's called pleiotropy. What this means is that one single type of cytokine can have totally different effects on different types of cells. It's like sending one text message that tells your friend to pick up milk, your mom to call you back, and your boss that you'll be 5 minutes late. One message, many different actions. Rule number 2 is redundancy. And this is just a genius backup plan built into our bodies. It means that several different cytokines can all trigger the exact same response in a cell. So if one messenger gets lost or blocked, no big deal. Another one can step right in and get the job done. Next up, synergy. This is where things get really cool. It's where 1 + 1 equals like 10. The combined effects of 2 different cytokines working together is way more powerful than just adding their individual effects. They boost each other, creating this massive amplified response. And then we have antagonism. This is all about checks and balances. One cytokine can come in and completely block or cancel out the signal from another. This is the system's brake pedal. It's absolutely crucial for preventing the immune response from just spiraling out of control. And the final rule is cascade induction. Think of it like a domino effect. One cytokine hits a target cell, and that triggers the cell to start pumping out a whole bunch of other different cytokines. Those then go on to activate even more cells, and the signal just explodes outward. So when all 5 of these rules are working together in harmony, you get this incredibly powerful, elegant, and finely tuned response. But what happens when this carefully controlled conversation just completely falls apart? Well, the danger is profound. On the left, you see how it should work, a controlled, targeted release of cytokines to take care of a problem. But on the right, that's a cytokine storm. The system loses all control. The cells just start screaming every message all at once, creating this massive self-destructive feedback loop of inflammation. This is the deadly process that leads to septic shock. And the consequences are just staggering. In the United States alone, this catastrophic breakdown in communication leads to more than 70,000 deaths from septic shock every single year. But here's the amazing part. Because we are finally starting to understand this language, we are learning how to speak it ourselves. We're actually starting to hack the immune system to help people. So let's take a disease like rheumatoid arthritis. For years, we saw the symptoms, but now we know the root problem. The body is making way too much of one specific cytokine, called TNF-alpha. It's like a broken record, constantly screaming a message that creates chronic, painful inflammation.
So what's the solution? Scientists came up with this absolutely brilliant idea. They engineered these tiny, soluble receptors that basically act as decoys. These little molecules just float around and they soak up all the extra TNF-alpha messages, catching them before they can ever reach their target and cause damage. And that decoy strategy? That was just the beginning. This is a whole new era of medicine. We're building an entire toolkit to go in and edit these cellular conversations. We have things like monoclonal antibodies that can block very specific messages. We can combine cytokines with toxins to create smart bombs that only kill cancer cells. We can even create factors that boost our immune armies when they need some backup. It's incredible.
And all this brings us to a final, really powerful thought. We are moving past just treating symptoms. We are on the verge of being able to fundamentally reprogram the body's communication network. So if we can now read, interpret, and even rewrite the secret language of our own biology, you have to wonder, what incredible new conversation should we start next?